Hello there, and welcome to another playthrough of Commands and Colors Ancients. And today we're back in the, well, let's call it the Western Theater War. We have been lingering on the eastern parts of the Roman world for a while now. Now we are in today's France, close to the modern Orange, which is called Arausio in ancient times. So here we had a big battle between Germanic tribes and the Romans, and this is this was a disaster for the Romans. I mean, the casualties after this battle was, in the magnitude of canae. So this is an important setback for Rome, actually, but it also had kind of a new beginning for the Roman army structure. But let's first talk about what before we talk about the aftermath, what happened before this, right? So basically, what we have here is I think it's 2 or 3 big tribes of Germanic people. We have the Cimbri, led by King Boiorix here, and we also have King Teutobod here of the Teutons, and they have been on a great, migration march. I don't really know what caused these guys to start moving. I mean, this kind of resembles of what happens long later with, for instance, Germanic tribes. When the Huns are ravaging through Europe, and the Germanic tribes were moving about and creates, pretty much chaos in Europe and instability. But of course, this is so much earlier, and I don't really know why the Cimbri started to march and did this big epic march. I mean, these are big movements these guys are doing, because they hail from today's Denmark. So they started somewhere there, marched through Central Eastern Europe, then heading west. They had some battles with the Romans, I believe, during that march. And north of the Alps, I believe they marched, and then all the way over to today Spain, right? So, and then back up to Gaul, quite a bit up north actually there, and then again southwards towards Rome, or southern France actually, and the Roman province there. So big movements. I don't really know. It would be interesting to know what caused these, if there are any knowledge of that. I don't really know if it's just that something happened up in north, today's Denmark, where the Cimbri came from, that they had to leave there. Maybe it was bad crops or something, that they had to seek better lands for farming. I don't know, or if it's just that they heard that there were riches down south and they went on a really early Viking rage without boats to the southern Europe, right? Not sure. It would be nice to know. If anybody knows, let me know. That would be interesting. Anyway, as I mentioned, they went on these real I mean, such a big march they did through the whole of Europe, more or less. And this caused some, I mean, they were ravaging the lands where they went on, right, and did pillage and all that. So there was a lot of unrest happening in their footsteps. And that also, gave pressure towards Rome. So at this point, actually in October 105 BC, Caepo, or the Romans, Caepo was a proconsul over here at this point of time. One of the Roman cities was also taken by the Germanic tribes, but the Romans had managed to retake it. But then they went back and had a bit more of a defensible just waiting out to see what the Germanic tribes were doing. So they were kind of in a defense here. During this year, we had, of course, two consuls. One was called Publius Rufus, and one was, he's mentioned here, Gnaeus Malleus Maximus. So Rufus, the other consul, was the more experienced of the two consuls, I mean, in terms of war. And he was a successful war veteran over from the Numidian Wars, for instance. So he, one would think that he would go here and settle the situation, right? Because the Germanics were now pressing towards, southwards towards Roman lands. But he did not. For some reason, he sent up the more inexperienced consul, Maximus, who went on to join army with Caepio, who was already present here with his army. Now, the big problem here was that Caepio, he was from the old breed of the Romans, from a fine family in Rome, while Maximus was from what is called, I think it's Nuovo Homo or something like that, the new people, the new man. And that was not seen as a good thing by Caepio. Here comes this, not really a noble man taking over, because as he was a consul, he outranked Caepio, who was a proconsul, right? So he would have been the commander of the whole army. And Caepio didn't want that really, because he thought Novo Homo should not take command here, come to, and take over. So the start was not good for the Romans, because we have a lot of rivalry between the two commanders in place here. And the army was big. It said it was, we had 80,000 legionaries here, the two armies combined. So when Maximus appeared here, he probably wanted, the two Roman armies to merge and camp together, but Caepio refused that. He was actually camping on the other side of the Rhone River, seen towards the Germanic army that was approaching. So we had Maximus camping on the same side, but Caepio on the other side. And Maximus of course gave order to join and merge the armies, but he refused. So he didn't move over the river up until he got direct orders from Rome to do that. Then he took that order, but he would not take the order from Maximus. But eventually he went over with his camp, and one would think that when the Germanic tribes were now approaching, they would camp together. But no, Caepio still insisted he will have his separate camp, his army separated from Maximus I. That was, of course, a problem. And then the Germanic tribes had, they were in the vicinity here, where there were some hostilities here, there's some skirmish fighting happening. But it said that, I think, the German kings here, they saw that they were pretty much outnumbered. Now, it's not really known how big the Germanic army was. I mean, the historical information is that there were like 200,000 of them. And that could be true, but probably that means, not just the fighting men, but the whole tribes, women and children and elderly and all that as well. So, as it's said here in the historical background, probably there was about 50,000 Roman or Germanic fighters here. So they were outnumbered basically. But luckily for them, we have this, rivalry between the consul and the proconsul here. So it said that Boiorix at some point started negotiations with Maximus, to settle the issue in a diplomatic way, kind of, right? And Capo knew about those probes, of these diplomatic talks happening. So he got jealous of that. He was thinking that Maximus would now get all the glory if there was an agreed settlement happening. So he actually armed his forces and started, without any, consulting Maximus or anything, he started an attack on the Germanic tribes alone. Now, this meant he was pretty outnumbered because it's only the half the army attacking now, right? So that was pretty much a disaster because that attack went southwards. The Germanic tribes overcame them, attacked themselves, and eventually took and pillaged the Roman camp here. Capo himself did escape, though. So, when seeing that, Boiorix were not that interested anymore to negotiate with Maximus, because now he could do his two separate battles with half of the Roman armies, and he could win both of them. So he launched an attack against Maximus. Problem for these guys, they are by that the Maximus camp is not shown in this battle because we are seeing the Capio side of the attack. But I will still mention what happened after this battle because it was important. Because Maximus camp was the backs against the Rhone River here, so they couldn't really escape, and they couldn't start, traversing the river because it was pretty, a big river. So they had to fight, and they had seen Capo's army go down, and the morale was probably not the highest from the beginning. So they were pretty much overrun by the army of Boiorix and Teutobod here. And it's said that 80,000 Romans perished after this battle. I mean, that's just enormous, right? First Capius army and then Maximus' army. And there are also some saying that there were a lot more up. I think I read, is it said here? I don't know, but something in the numbers of 120,000 losses because if you also count, camp followers and auxilia and all that. Who knows, but it said at least 80,000 Romans were killed during this battle. So big, big disaster there. And the threat didn't go away after this battle, of course. And the Romans were, losing 80,000 men or more, of course, a big, gap in manpower suddenly in the region and in the Rome itself. So when Rome, they were used to setbacks, right? So they had pretty much to set up a new army or armies, and they had to think of a new, they had to get manpower from somewhere, and they had these restrictions, right? Who could join a Roman legion before, you needed to be a landowner and all that. So here we have a big, break point in Roman army history happening, because we have, you probably know that, Gaius Marius, we had the Marian reforms happening where pretty much anybody could join the army, and the army would provide you with arms and armor and all that, right? So that's a big thing, and we're going to explore that in the upcoming battles. But still, we are in the pre-Marian reforms here, so that's why I have chosen to use the gray and not red Roman blocks, just to, remember that we will not use the Marian rules. And it's also said here in the optional setup, I can just show that pretty quick. The Roman army was still organized along the pre-Marian guidelines. If the Roman player decides, he may use the gray Roman block, right? So that's what I have been using. Anyway, well, that's the short history of this battle. So let's check out the War Council. So we have leaders King Boiorix and Teutobod, and on the Roman side we have Quintus Servilius Caepio. The Germanics will have 5 command cards, Romans only 4, but they will have 5 of course, and instead these guys will get 6 in our solo system we're using. The Romans are moving first, and that's because they did this attack that I talked about by themselves without going with Maximus. So special rules. The Rhone River is impossible, and we have it over here. Then we have another special rule. A Germanic tribe unit that captures either camp hex gains 1 victory banner. If the unit moves off or is eliminated, it no longer counts. Capture of both camp hexes, we have 2 of them, will still only count as 1 victory banner. So, time to look at the map then. So here we have the camps, the Roman army on the Rhone River, and up there we have a huge Germanic army approaching, or actually these guys are approaching those guys at this point of time. So, as you can see, we have a pretty huge army of green blocks over there. I have not counted them, but it looks that it could be 20 or almost 20, and maybe 15 or something here. So let's look at the armies then. So we are, the Romans are having the traditional setup with velites up front, 4 units of them. Then they have the main line of Roman legionaries. We have 4 medium heavies. Here we have Caepio himself. Here's an unnamed leader. And then they are flanked by auxiliaries, allies, and of course we have the Triari in the back here. We also have some cavalry. We have a light cavalry over here. I'm really sure what those guys are, but probably some kind of allied cavalry there, because here we have, with the unnamed leader, we have a medium heavy, which are probably the Roman cavalrymen. And that's it. Over on the Germanic side, we have, well, kind of, the flanks look pretty much the same, but not really. If we start with Boiorix and the Cimbri, we have Boiorix himself back here with a medium heavy cavalry. We have 2 units of light cavalry up in front of him. Then on the flank we have light infantry and auxilia. And if we look over here, Teutobod here also with a medium heavy. We have some lights, we have light infantry on the flanks. Probably these are youngsters, right? Young warriors, not really, the warrior class really yet. Also we have 4 units of auxilia up front, probably also some younger or maybe lower class warriors. And then we have 6 units of warrior units, the real backbone of the barbarian armies, right? So that's it. And by the way, I didn't mention that we will battle until one side gets 7 banners. And talking about tactics, I think I will, well, I really like to try to do some, historical moves here. So I will go on pretty aggressively if I can with Caepio, moving forward the army, hoping for some line command so I can move the whole body upwards. And the Germanics here will of course not be, they are probably eager to have the fight with the half of the Roman army here, so they will also start moving forward. So hopefully we'll see a big clash somewhere in the middle. And since we don't have that much cavalry as we are used to see, maybe more in the eastern parts of the world, there's good chance we see more of infantry fighting in these battles, which we will have many of up front. Also, against slaves, slave revolts and civil wars and all that. And that's going to be cool. I'm really looking forward to doing these battles we have now in front of us. But Arausio it is today, and let's start the game. And as I said, the Romans start, so we're going to check what the Romans have in their slot A and B. So we have a double time and we have a heavy troops. We have a few heavy troops, or actually 2 of them. So, well, but not really interesting yet, right? But let's roll for what the Romans can play. Okay, that's a tactics card or lowest order count. So that will be the double time or the heavy. So I need to play one of these 2. That's interesting. It's bad we need to use the double time already now. On the other hand, I'm not sure how I should use the heavy troops. I don't really want to use a double time yet because I want to keep that as a good assault card when we come in range. So I will actually use the heavy troops anyway. And I cannot do much with this, but I will do one thing. I will put these guys, on the line hexes here, so we, straddling both sectors, so it's easier to activate them in the future. But really, not much happening there. Okay, let's check the Germanics Tribes cards. Also heavy troops, leadership any section, good. And 2 unit center. That's what we see from the beginning, but let's see what we can play. Okay, C or lowest order count. So we need to reveal slot C as well. And there we have an inspired center leadership. Okay, the thing is, since we have warriors, they have this charge ability. So, I mean, moving 2 hexes and battle, so let's go a bit easy with them as well. So I'm gonna take 2 units center and just move up 2 warrior units here. Still keeping the line so we can use a line command or, center leadership or something like that. We don't have any unit. We don't have any. At least not now, but since both leaders are, cavalry based, we can easily get to the center with them. That's good. So we can use this probably in the future. Okay, so let's replace the card in slot B, and we go on to the Romans. Okay, another of these. I wonder what we should do is if you only have 1 card up. Let's check that. If there is none or only 1 face up in the display, flip any 1 face down card. Okay, so we can take 1, and I will just take slot B then. Okay, so double time or 2 units left, and I still don't want to use that double time, so I'm gonna go for 2 units left. And we could start the skirmish phase, or we could start moving up some more troops. I mean, moving up the Triarii as well. Or we could start some harassing with velites and our light cavalry. I mean, that's also a bit tempting. Let's test our luck with that. So these guys go 2, and these guys go, let's go all the way here. And then we're gonna throw some javelins. We start with the light cavalry, 1 die attack against those light youngsters, and they hit. First blood of this scenario. The velites will take the same target. Let's see if we can. And that's a miss. Okay. Replace that one. And then we go over to the Germanic Tribes again. Another one of these. We don't really have any tactic cards up. I don't think these counts at that. I think leadership calls, you know, are classified as section cards with this rule. So let's see. We have no heavies. So that would be 1 unit of my choice. We have no leader in the center, so that would also be 1 of my choice. Or we have a leadership any section, and that would order more units. So I need to activate one of these cards, and since we don't have any heavies, it would be really good to get rid of these ones. So I'm gonna take this, and I'm gonna retaliate here against that light cavalry. And we got in 1 hit. Well, that was a good way to get rid of that heavy card, at least. I mean, I'm pretty sure we have no heavies at all in the, you know, in the barbaric counter set or block set. There are no heavy type units. If I'm not, maybe there are some heavy cavalry. I'm not sure. Anyway, Romans. They got an A or B, double time, or light troops. That's pretty good. Light troops are perfect. So we have 4 units to activate, and now I can do 2 dice attacks here. And let's bring up more velites, start harassing their warriors. Let's take these guys from the flanks. So these guys rush forward. And these guys just stays. So let's take this flank first. So the cavalry again, we have a duel of javelins here. No hits. The velite, same target. A flag. But we are supported here, so I will ignore that. As the Germanic player. Over here, we're gonna start harassing those warriors. It's always important to get the first block off those warriors, so we, you know, they lose their first or their extra die they have in battle, and also the extra flag they can ignore for the future. So here comes the first attack. That's a miss. Second attack. There we got it. Hit. Very important. Very important indeed. So the Germanics really need to do something about this situation. That was the light troops, by the way. So yeah, it's the Germanic Tribes. Okay, so I can... No, I have... by the way, this should be up, actually. So, tactic card or lowest order count. No tactic cards up, so we need to do the lowest order count. And this time, I'm unfortunately forced to play this one by using the 1 units of my choice. That's a bit bad. That's a bit bad. But we need to do it, and I'm gonna, well, I need to retaliate again somewhere. Where should we do it? Let's do it here again against that light cavalry. Let's try to get that down. 2 dice. Another hit. It's down to 1 block, getting a bit dangerous. Maybe we should pull back those guys now. We're starting to lose the duel here. And yeah, Romance. A or B, a lot of these A or Bs. Double time that I don't want to use, so 3 units center. Well, let's do that. It will be these guys. It will be these guys. Something more in the center. I don't really know. I mean, it doesn't really make sense to start moving any of these guys alone. I want to keep the line. So I'm just gonna order 2 units actually. But these guys will try to harass that other war unit that went upwards. So let's start with that attack. 1 die, hoping for blue. Oh, we got it. The Velites are in good shape now. Here we take the same target with 2 dice. Another hit and a flag. They are down to 2. And they could retreat, but I want to keep the line, so I'll hold the positions there with the warriors. But really, this isn't what the Germanic tribes want. I mean, they have been a bit unlucky here now with the cards that they only can activate 1 unit, right? That's not good at all. They want to get forward and at least start throwing javelins against those Velites in a good way. So let's see if they can do that now. Oh, let's replace the card first over here. And then we check this. C, D, or E. At least some options here now. So we have a double time over here as well. Warriors can move 3, by the way, with this card. That could be really interesting in the future. We have 3 units right, and we have an order mounted. Okay. But you know what? I want to take 3 in the right-hand section now. First of all, I'm gonna activate these guys, hoping to get that cavalry with that, since they didn't pull back. I'm gonna start doing some attacks here. These guys, and let's take these guys. Yeah, that's okay. So these guys move forward, so do these. They have been provoked too much now, so they couldn't, hold their position in the line. They started to attack on their own. I think that's pretty cool, actually, to simulate such things, even though it's not tactically maybe too good to do that, break from a big line. But you can imagine these guys got really provoked by getting hammered by these javelins from the Velites, so they attack the provokers. So let's start with these youngsters throwing javelins against that cavalry. Maybe we can get the first victory banner actually now. And we did. We rolled a green once more, and this cavalry is done. So the first victory banner goes actually to the Germanic tribes, even though they had taken more losses. Actually only 1 block more. Let's put that here. Okay. It was those guys. Then we'll attack here. The Velites will evade, but that's one of my reasons to attack as well. Getting these guys away from our main line so we can move up in a better way. So the auxilia will roll 3 dice, and any greens are hits. We got 1. So we had evened out counts of blocks, but maybe there are more valuable blocks in the Germanic dead pile anyway. The rest of these guys managed to evade, so we go just straight back here. The warriors, they are not full strength anymore, so it's only 3 dice as well. And the Velites, of course, evade. No hits there though. Successful evasion here. Let's go there actually. And that's it. And I think actually I need to stop the session here. So what have you seen so far? Well, not much happening in the center, not much happening over here. Well, it does actually. That was a lie, because we have a big Velite force here throwing against these guys who couldn't really defend themselves with the shields. They're getting hits, and probably warriors are pouring back to the lines from here. where they're getting showered by these javelins here. So some action here as well. But here we have seen most of the action, I would say. The Romans starting the skirmish phase of the war or battle, and getting a few duels with the youngsters who have really coped well here. They have eliminated the cavalry unit who went off after taking too much casualties. And we have seen more Velite unit provoking the Germanic tribe units here to attack them and drawing them out from the main line. Maybe to be maybe we can use the double time at some point, getting the legionaries to attack them. That would be really cool. But let's see, we need to move the main line a bit forward. The thing is, we have not seen a single line command over here yet, so we would like to do that so we can move up the bulk of the army and then do the double time things. And the interesting thing is that both sides have a double time card, so that spells like we have some action for the future, right? So by this, as I said, I need to close this session for now, but I will be back pretty soon with part 2 of the Battle of Arausio. Thanks for watching and see you next time. Bye bye.